Hey, I'm Jeff Francis, and you're watching the Speed Journal. We're at Spa Francorchamps in Belgium, and with me is Adam Christodoulou. Hey, Adam, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, good.
All right. So, Ron Simon's the coordinator here today at the track event. Said he was going to line somebody up for me to ride with me and show me the lines around the track, but he didn't tell me it was going to be the winner of the 24 Hours of Nurburgring. So, thanks a lot, Ron. But anyways, made a good friend here in Adam. We're going to learn a little bit about what Adam's done, what he's doing, and what it's like to be a professional racer. You've signed with AMG, and that's your team, right?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough that last year I was able to sign with them, and it's been a real fun journey getting to that point. So yeah, last year was a major step for me in my career. To be involved with a manufacturer is any driver's dream. So that dream came true last year, and then to top it off, we competed in the Nurburgring 24 Hours last year, and we happened to win it as well, which just made it even more special.
Oh my gosh. Now, was that the one with all the weather changes you were telling me about? Or
yeah, so every year the Nurburgring always throws surprises.
Yeah.
And so last year, about 45 minutes into the race, suddenly the heavens opened, it rained, and it caused chaos, and they had to stop the race for about 2 hours whilst they got broken and damaged cars off the track. The cars were stuck on the track because it rained that much and everyone was on slick tyres. And so the race got restarted in the wet conditions, and yeah, 24 hours later we came out on top, which was just incredible. So the sensations and the highs and lows that you go through are just something out of this world. So we managed to win by just 6 seconds. So it was also the closest ever Nurburgring 24-hour finish.
Yeah. Now, is that the one where the hail and people were actually sliding, trying to get up the hill?
Yeah, exactly. So my engineer came on my radio, and because I was in the car at the time, and screaming slow down as I was heading into Arenberg. So I slowed down, and we've got a GPS on the car so you could see what speed I was doing, and he told me to slow down even more. Yeah. And I slowed down more, and the car in front of me just slid off the track in front of me. So that was a good heads up, and yeah, it was just chaos. Like, there must have been 30 or 40 damaged cars just because within a split second we're on a section of the track where we can do over 250 kilometers an hour, and we're having to crawl around at 50 kilometers an hour. And so to try and slow down and control a car in wet conditions with slicks on is pretty tricky.
And that's a testament to some of the steep inclines at Nurburgring too, right? I mean, if a car actually can't climb that hill due to slick.
Exactly. So yeah, there's videos on YouTube of the cars literally grinding to a halt coming up the hill because they're just wheel spinning, going nowhere. The hailstones are on the track, and some of them you can even see slide down, and they just get stuck on the track, and they had to stop the race because it wasn't safe. There was no way of cars getting around the lap.
All right. Now, does Nurburgring have a soul, and does it have bad intentions?
No, not at all. But of course, the Nurburgring is also known as the Green Hell. So it's the biggest track in the world, permanent track in the world, and it's just incredible. Like, there's over 200 starters there and 250,000 spectators, and they set up these campsites and they bring buildings, and it's just incredible. The atmosphere there for the spectators, it's like a massive party as well.
Oh yeah. Now, once again, we're at Spa Francorchamps in Belgium. Formula One track, and you've ran 24-hour races here too, right? Yes,
I've been lucky enough that this year is going to be my 7th Spa 24 Hours. So it's the biggest GT3 race in the world. So there'll be about 60 starters here on the 7-kilometer track, and again, it's always guaranteed lots of action during the race. We're not too far from the Nurburgring, so generally the weather's always, it's got its own microclimate, which also spices things up here as well.
Similar. What do you do about lighting? Obviously the cars have high powerful lights. Do they bring in any extra lighting to the tracks in Nurburgring or Spa in these races?
We just get told to eat lots of carrots.
A lot of carrots, gotcha, all right.
So there's a few bits that are lit up, but because of the amount of cars on track, generally the lighting's pretty good from the other cars as well.
Yeah, okay. On a 24-hour race, how many drivers are there?
So it can range depending on the series. It can be anything from 3 drivers up to 5 drivers. So for the SRO stuff, in the Pro category we're allowed 3. In the Pro-Am category you're allowed 4 drivers, just to give them a little bit more rest in between. But for Daytona, example, that 24 you're allowed 4 drivers, and so it depends on what series.
So how long is a stint usually?
So the stint will be as long as the fuel tank lasts.
Okay.
So this can range anything from, again, depending on the championship and regulations, it can last from 1 hour up to an hour and a half. And we can be in the car for up to 3 hours. And in some of these cars, it gets pretty hot. It's like sitting in an oven. And you've got your fireproofs on, your helmet, your balaclava. And yeah, it gets pretty warm in there. But we're lucky enough in some of the cars nowadays, we've got air conditioning. We can have up to 2-3 litres of water in the car just for the driver to drink. And so we're pretty well equipped.
Now speaking of that, how do you condition yourself for a 24-hour race?
Well, we go and find the hottest place and sunbathe. No, there's lots of different ways of training. So I enjoy doing quite a bit of running. A lot of drivers cycle a lot, and in the winter, some of us, if we're allowed, we go and ski as well. Like we always try and find these sports that give us like adrenaline. So also there's steam room and sauna training that quite a few drivers do, depending on which country you're going to be racing. For Spa, the weather can be anything from, well, it can be from freezing up to 30 degrees, and so it's quite unpredictable here as well as at the Nurburgring. So it's pretty tough. It's the heat that generally gets to you, not the fitness. It doesn't matter how fit you are. If you start cooking, you suddenly fatigue.
Zaps you.
Yep.
Now, you spoke about Daytona earlier. You've had an opportunity to run the 24 hours of Daytona too, correct?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough that I've been able to race it twice. So my first time at Daytona was for the 24 hours was in 2011, and the second time was at the start of this year. And so I was lucky enough that AMG put me forward, so I raced with the team AMG Riley, and yeah, we had a team of 4 drivers. And we were leading with about an hour and a half to go, and unfortunately we just got pipped, so we ended up 3rd. But no, it's a great achievement. It was AMG's first Daytona 24 hours, so to become a part of that was pretty special.
GT3? AMG GT3, is that what it was?
Yes,
okay.
yeah. So the car is based on the AMG GT, and we've got developed suspension, we've got wide tyres, big aero kit on it, and the car's like a road car, but on steroids kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then now we're just producing its smaller brother. We're now in development stages of producing the AMG GT4, which is based on the GTR.
So it'll just be another subclass.
Yes, exactly. So the thing is, the GT3 cars are very advanced and very quick, and so we're now AMG are creating some more cars, so that we have a bit of a stepping stone for drivers to be able to make the jumps up eventually into the GT3 category.
Gotcha. Is Mercedes-AMG, have they found that Porsche's doing something that they want to be a part of? Porsche's already, they've been spread all over this, right?
Yeah, so Porsche's huge, so they've got a number of categories from little Caymans up to GT4s, the Cup cars and the GT3, and I suppose as a business AMG want to be involved more and more in motorsport as much as possible, and so they run a few different programs. They've got a customer sports program where there's a select number of drivers that are assigned to AMG, and they'll supply us to the customer to help teach the drivers either technique or setup to get the most out of their race weekend.
Gotcha. So what do you have in store this year? What's your schedule like?
So I'm lucky enough that this year is starting to fill up really nicely. So at the start of the year, the schedule was the VLN Championship around the Nordschleife and the Nurburgring 24 hours, plus the Blancpain Endurance Championship. So the Blancpain Endurance Championship is 5 rounds, including the Spa 24 hours. And then the VLN Championship includes the Nurburgring 24 hours as well. But just the other week, I've managed to add a 3rd championship to the season as well. It's the second half of the championship to compete in the British GT Championship as well. So I'm back here again tomorrow with Team ABBA, Roll Centre Racing, and we're just doing setup work, making sure we can get the most out of the car for in 2-3 weeks time when we're back here for the British GT race. But and then in 2 weeks time I'm here with my original team, which is AMG Team Black Falcon, and we'll be doing preparations for the Spa 24 hours at the end of July.
All right. Now, are these different cars, or pretty much virtually the same car you're driving in each series?
So every car is homologated, so they're all exactly the same.
Okay.
So then it's down to the drivers, the mechanics and the engineering to do the setup work and work with the strategy. Each championship has slightly different regulations, so you've always got to adapt from each one. Each team owns their own car, and so they do their own preparations, and so it's for them to make sure that they do the best they can for their championship.
Yeah, okay. Hey, what's the biggest difference between Spa and Nurburgring? Just because we ran Nurburgring yesterday, we ran Spa today, I know the differences, but share with the viewers, what's that like?
So they're two completely different animals. Spa is incredible. It's got probably one of the most famous corners, Eau Rouge, and it's one that everyone claims they can do flat, but it is so difficult to be able to do it flat. Even in a race car where we've got the extra grip, the extra downforce, it's almost impossible. So take it with a pinch of salt when people claim that they've been able to do a Rouge flat. But Spa is obviously a Grand Prix circuit, so we'll do plenty of laps around here during the 24-hour race, whereas the Nurburgring is 25 kilometers. And so during a stint, we'll only do up to 8 laps. And so, in fact, it's actually a little bit easier. It's a little bit less physical at the Nurburgring to do a 2-hour stint or a double stint because you don't do as many laps, so it's not as repetitive. Whereas here, mentally is pretty tough because you've got to concentrate every corner, every braking point, every straight to make sure you get the best out of the car and also manage the traffic around you.
Yeah, great. Two totally different tracks, right?
It's unreal the difference.
Yeah.
So one is 7 kilometers, so this is one of the biggest Grand Prix circuits in the world. And then we have the Nordschleife, which is 25 kilometers. And generally, it's better to know a car rather than a track, but the Nürburgring, you need to definitely know the track more than the car.
Absolutely. By the way, you do coaching as well, correct?
Yeah, I do a lot. So I'm lucky enough that I've got my own, well, let's say track toy. So I've got a Renault Clio Sport. I've got a dual control in it. I've had the suspension lowered and it tuned a little bit. And I use it purposely just for teaching.
People sometimes may think they don't want to spend the money, take the time, but it's actually a savings, right? I mean, the time that they spend on wasting, repracticing bad habits, they could get right to being quicker immediately.
Exactly, and if you look at any sport, people have gym trainers, there's golf coaches and all of this, and it's strange how, obviously motorsport's extremely expensive, and so I believe that, especially with a new driver, I reckon I can teach them more in 3 days compared to what it would take them 10 days on their own. And so it's a bit of a false economy. Like in any sport, generally you have a trainer, so I don't see why motorsport has to be different. Okay, they can be a little bit expensive, but for the cost of a trainer or an instructor for 2-3 days can save you 10 days on the track. And the thing is, they can also give you the feedback on what the car's doing and whether you need to change something on the car setup, whether it's a race car or a road car. And so, and this, like generally the biggest tuning's between the ears. And it's like if you were learning to fly a plane, you wouldn't learn in a big, fast jumbo jet, you'd learn in a 2-seater. It's the same with learning on the track. You can learn more in a small car and push it closer to its limit and be dancing with the thing rather than being in a fast car and being afraid of it.
Anybody that's following your career, how do they follow that?
So I'm on all the social media platforms. So on my Twitter and my Instagram, I'm on at Adam Christo. And then on Facebook, I've got a fan page at Adam Christodoulou. And then generally I'm at tracks, so I'm always posting about stuff that I'm doing here, and I'm one of these guys, I like to enjoy myself and amuse myself, so it's not all serious stuff on there, there's the odd joke and stuff on there as well.
All right, so people can get a feel what's going on at the track, what fun you're having.
Yeah, exactly, on and off the track.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, hey, that'll wrap it up. Appreciate your time, Adam.
Thank you.
And best of luck in your
career,
too.
Thank you very much.